Hey everyone, welcome back. Second video here for May. So you can see I've got the side skin off, and I've got some aluminum fuel line there, if you can see on the bench, while my father-in-law works on the throttle quadrant. I mentioned in the other video that the Sling kit comes with, and I'm putting on the rudder cables here at this point in time. But the Sling kit comes with the rubber fuel lines, which is fine. I mean, the only downside is that after 5 years, you need to replace those rubber lines with either more rubber lines or something different. There's a number of builders that are out there that are building slings with either aluminum or Teflon lines, and one of the other TSI builders that was here in town had some aluminum line left over, and so I bought that from him, and I'm just giving a shot at it here to see how it works. It's not terrible to work with, but there's no way to really do this unless the side skin is off, just because the bends necessary to feed the fuel line through just wouldn't be possible once the side skins are on. So I kind of had to devise a way to do this, since this is completely outside of anything that the sling manuals have. And what I came up with was a piece of aluminum that I had left over from a scrap piece, and I'll show you some pictures here on that. So what I did is I cut a piece of aluminum, and it's inside the one of the wing mount points, and this is actually where the fuel lines would come out in a normal build process. And drilled some extra holes and created one for the fuel going in and one the fuel return, and then put the mount points on there. So that's what it looks like on the inside. At that point in time, then I can put the fuel mounts on and then start kind of bending the aluminum around there. And in this part here, I was working on the firewall inside location where there's some extra riv nuts that need to go on there. And I like to make sure I give it about 24 hours for that to dry, so I was prepping that for the next day. Anyway, so here I am prepping or working on the fuel lines, and you have to put I don't know, it's a device that basically widens it up and helps to create the seal in the adapter for the fuel line. And the aluminum's actually not bad to work with. You just kind of have to be really careful, because you can bend it pretty easy, but what you don't want to do is you don't want to fold it or kink it. So you want the line to be fairly fluid going through there. Now, one of the builders that I looked at, he actually wrapped the line up and over the control rod to get it into the center section of the console there. And I like that part to a point, because then I don't have to worry about the control rod interfering if I had to go back for whatever reason. The problem is that the line and then the skin that comes to protect that area, it's just a really tight tolerances. So I'm very concerned about any sort of vibration or rubbing on the fuel lines. My father-in-law has now moved on to the seats, and we had to do a bit of not dimpling, but some chamfering on somewhere the rivets go in holding the bracket together. So that is almost a two-man job, just because the one has to hold it in place, and then the other one does the actual riveting, or it's not riveting, but it's the chamfer hole. So anyway, you just roll out the section of aluminum there for the fuel line, and then just start bending it around into place. It's interfering in a few spots that I'm still not totally convinced that this is the way that I'm going to go, and I have started looking at some Teflon lines, because they will make it significantly easier to run, and I think I have a lot more flexibility with how that gets run. But I'm definitely going to try here, because I've already got all the parts. This section here, I just need to come back around and finish the point where the COM1 antenna mounts. I kept putting it together, and I was clicking it together and then forgetting to add on one other additional reinforcement part, and it's just been floating around, so finally I took the time to get that part into place. the build at this point in time, there's just like a million little things that need to happen, and it's easy to get distracted. But at the same time, when I start to work on something, I have to really think through A to B, B to C, C to D, and how that is going to impact the order of process or the order that I work on each piece, so one's not interfering with the other. I discovered something this last week on some of the avionics that I'm going to have to make some adjustments on, and that means that actually the fuel lines that I have sitting in there right now I need to take out so that I've got better access to the center point where the transponder technically should go, but according to Midwest, that's just not a good spot because it's hard to access. The thing is, the skin comes with the hole, or the hole comes with the skin from the factory. So I have a hole there. I'm going to need to put something there, and I'm just going to choose to put the comm antenna there, and then I'll move the transponder a little further back and have to make a hole for that. And again, because the instructions aren't really clear on some of the wiring aspects, I had to go back and rerun the wire for the rear section of the fuselage. I think it was the third time I've probably done that. I'm very certain that it is in the correct spot now. I with the side skins on in the front or the middle section of the fuselage, it really made it easy to see where I needed to go. So I went back and reran that so that it's going to work now. I was just really concerned about a particular turn that I was making, and again, back to the vibration piece, where you just don't want to have kinks or vibration in the airplane that could cause failures in critical components, or any components for that matter. Anyway, so back to the seats, just helping out with some of the riveting. The seats are actually really fun to put together. They're very simple. Again, this is another section where you almost don't need the instructions. So, at this point in time, we've got all of the front seats together. The one thing that I was looking at another builder's blog, or the blog post, the pictures that go along with it, I wasn't terribly concerned about painting these, but it looks like that there's a fair amount of exposed metal, and so I'm going to treat it with, I don't know, I'll get some paint or something like that, and probably put it on there. So again, another project for a little later day. My father-in-law is working on getting the rear bench parts laid out there, and I'm just finishing up getting some of the wiring done. And I did find that the wire harness, it's much easier to thread through the channel when it's in that sheath that I've got going around it. I think that wire sheath is meant really to protect it, but it makes it a lot easier to install. Anyway, that's all I have for this time. I'll update as quickly as I can for the next time, and thank you guys for watching. Please subscribe, and if you want more, head over to my blog post, and there's pictures and some written dialogue on that. Thanks.